Hi friends. How are you all? Hope you are doing well. So today I'm going to talk about a very interesting topic that is about Heidegger's being and time. So first of all, let me tell you who is Heidegger and what his book is about. Heidegger was a German philosopher. He is well known as a existential ontological philosopher from Germany, and he is well known for his famous book called Being and Time. Uh, in olden days, philosophy was considered the mother of all subjects. So most all the subjects were part of philosophy. Later, it got divided into different subjects like maths, logic, science, social science, economics, and so on. So olden days, everything was considered philosophy. So one of the German philosophers today we are going to study about is Martin Heidegger. His favorite quote is, "If I take death into my life, acknowledge it, and face it squarely, I will free myself from the anxiety of death and the pettiness of life, and only then will I be free to become myself," says Martin Heidegger. So now let's see uh, what are his philosophical thoughts. So, particularly today, I am going to talk about German's being and time and what his philosophical thought about death. So, basically, I will be talking about how the existential analysis of death differs from other possible interpretations of the phenomenon. A preliminary sketch of the existential and ontological structure of death, being toward death and the everydayness of Dasein. So, in introduction, Martin Heidegger in his Being and Time. So, first of all, let me tell you what is Being and Time. Being and Time is one of his favorite bestseller book, and uh, he his ontological existential thoughts are very well recognized, and he is known for that. So, Martin Heidegger in his Being and Time treats death not as biological or religious issue, but as something central to human existence. His approach about death is existential ontological analysis, which is different from other ways of thinking about death. He wants to show that how death shapes the very way we live and understand ourselves, whether we face it directly or free from it. So, according to Heidegger, as I told in the beginning, Heidegger is an existential philosopher. So, he talks about existence, why we live in this world, what is the purpose of our existence. Uh, you might have heard about Sartre. He's the father of existential philosophy. And also, after Heidegger, there are many philosophers who uh, uh, even take forward his legacy of existential philosophy. And Derrida, philosophers like Derrida and all, they also take inspiration from Heidegger. In today's world, we live in modern technological advanced system. Some people want to flee from death, and that's why they go from cosmetic surgeries and other kinds of treatment to look young. So here, what is Heidegger is saying that um, according death is very phenomenon to human existence. So he coins the terms like Dasein, Sein, and so on. So for Heidegger, human existence is more important than the event of death. How the existential analysis of death differs from other possible interpretations. So Heidegger states that many disciplines deal death differently. Biology studies lifespan of organism, causes of death, and processes like aging. It treats human as part of the animal world. Medicine studies diseases, injuries, cause of death in a clinical way. Psychology explores individuals fleeing about death, how dying is experienced, and anthropology studies about how cultures perform rituals. So Heidegger says these are valid, but all these are ontic approaches. That is why they only focus the fact or the thing. Heidegger's focus is ontological, that concerns the question of being itself. He wants to ask about the meaning of death in terms of being itself. So here I would like to clarify that why Heidegger wanted to talk differently about death. So according to Heidegger, all those Western philosophers, they were mostly focusing on death in ontic way. So for Heidegger, ontic is uh, a factual thing. So olden days philosophers, according to Heidegger, were talking about only what is death, the why it happens. They were not focusing on the meaning of death or ontological meaning of death. So that's why his approach is not uh, on ontic death but ontological death. Further clarify, he introduces three key terms about death. He calls, according to Heidegger, three there are three terms about death, or we can say there are three kinds of death according to Heidegger. So first he calls perishing or verenden in German. He says that perishing happens to animals and plants. They live and then stop living. Humans also share this biological ending. For example, movie dialogue, he died like a dog. वह कुत्ते की मौत मारा गया. So for Heidegger, Martin Heidegger, human beings should not or would not die this kind of death. This kind of death are only for animals and plants because they don't question their existence, they don't question their death. Second kind of death he talks about is demise or oblivion. He says that humans can be described in medical terms as well, but this misses something. A person can end without confronting their death authentically. The second kind of death he talks about, where he says that this kind of death is described only in medical terms. For example, doctor, if someone is dead, then doctor issues a death certificate. So our death is our death gets certified only in the certificate. So Heidegger is not talking about that kind of death. A person can end without confronting their death authentically. Here, person is dying only at the level of the certificate. He is not living his, he's not dying authentically, according to Heidegger. Later, I'll talk about what is authentic death, authenticity, and inauthenticity, according to Heidegger. Third kind of death, kind of death that Heidegger talks about is dying, sterben. Heidegger says that this term, dying or dying, belongs uniquely to human of Dasein. Humans not only die biologically but also relate to their death, live with an awareness of mortality. So, as I talked about the kinds of death in the beginning, two other kinds of death. So, Heidegger is not focusing on that. He says that human death is different from perishing or demise. Our death is very unique. Dying very specifically belongs to humans. Humans not die biologically, but they relate to their death. They question their death. They are aware that they are going to die, and with that awareness, they die. So, preliminary sketch of the existential and ontological structure of death. Here he says that death is part of care. So he returned to his central concept, care. Previously, he had defined care as being ahead of itself. So according to Heidegger, care is the fundamental concept of death. So according to him, death is very part of care. So he he talks about three kind of care. So being ahead of itself, it is always projecting towards future possibilities. That is care of Dasein. So according to Heidegger, Dasein is always projecting towards future possibilities. Dasein, which means our human existence has possibilities to take decisions, to make his life meaningful, to take actions, to live life authentically. So Dasein is always ahead of itself, where he takes choices in his life. Second, he talks about already being in the world. For Heidegger, we Dasein or humans' existence, or we are thrown into a world where we did not choose. We are thrown into a context, in a history and circumstances we did not choose. We did not choose our parents. We did not choose the village we come from. We did not choose the country we were born. We did not choose the uh, continent we are in. So we are thrown into the world, according to Heidegger. Third, he says is being with others and things. So here, Heidegger is talking about that Dasein, when he is thrown into the world, he has choices and chances to get absorbed in the public world and everyday concerns. So when Dasein is not aware of itself, then he has more chances of getting distracted into the world without considering his purpose, without knowing that why is he in the world. So now he argues that death must be understood through this structure of care. So according to Heidegger, death should be understood in the structure of care. So he three things he talks about is existence. Death is the ultimate possibility towards which we are always ahead of ourselves. Unlike ordinary tasks, it is not something we can complete or control. The sign is always towards future possibilities. So it is similar to the previous slide. Dasein is always being ahead of itself, always ahead of itself, okay, always projecting towards future possibilities. Dasein has a lot of opportunities. Dasein has the opportunity to make choices. Dasein has opportunity to take actions. So that's why it is. Now he says that Dasein has possibility to many possibilities as he exists in the world. So second term he talks about is tacticity, or in another way we can say Dasein is already thrown in the world. So tacticity is condition or situation we are thrown into life without choosing it. And our death is equally part of this thrownness. Death belongs to us from the beginning. So according to Dasein, according to Heidegger, we are thrown into a world we did not choose, which like Heidegger calls tacticity. Third term he talks about under care is falling prey. In everyday life, we avoid thinking about that, getting lost in distractions, entertainment, or the chatter of the society. Heidegger is saying that instead of living our death authentically, we become part of day or Dasein. So here nicely Heidegger puts his idea that we are thrown into the world, and it is it depends on us to make choices. We are always being ahead of ourselves. We have a lot of possibilities, but in this world of fantasy, we are sometimes lost. We get distracted, and we become part of the general social group, which Heidegger calls as they or das Man in German, saying that, oh, one day everybody has to die. Why to worry about that? So they become part of the world. They don't think differently. So Heidegger emphasizes that death is not an external event waiting somewhere in the future like a storm or a visitor. Instead, death is imminent or it is certain. It is part of the way we are now. It is not objectively present like an atom in the world. It is possibility shaping my life as long as I exist. So death is a radically individual. No one can die in life. Death for me is personal. Others may die before me, but the death never substitutes. Death thus makes each person's existence uniquely their own. So, so what Heidegger is saying is that is very personal to us. It is it is non-relational. Death is very personal to me. No one can replace my death. My death is very unique. So being towards death and everyday day of Dasein. So Heidegger's everyday evasion of death. So Heidegger says that in a daily life we usually do not face death authentically. Instead, we become Tasman, as I talked in the beginning. The anonymous public or society, it shapes our attitude. For example, one day everyone has to die. People say one dies someday, but not now. Death is acknowledged, but in vague, impersonal way. Death is treated as general fact. Everyone dies, not as my almost possibility. Here, almost means personal. Uh, almost means personal. Uh, Sometimes we face death uh, inauthentically. We don't consider it as my personal most possibility. Heidegger says that these are the examples of idle talk, which called Gerede. They are superficially way of speaking that hides the truth rather than feeling it. People avoid the anxiety of death by pushing it away into the distant future or by generalizing it. So still even this evasion shows something important. Death is so fundamental that it cannot be denied. Even in playing, we reveal its constant presence. Everyday evasions prove that death belongs essentially to existence because otherwise we would not feel the need to flee from it. So death is fundamental, it cannot be denied. Death comes to all. Thus Heidegger concludes that in everydayness, Dasein covers over its being towards death. Yet discovering itself indicates the depth of death's significance. So in conclusion, Heidegger builds a crucial foundation for his existential philosophy. He shows that death cannot be reduced to medical, biological, or theological accounts. These are ontic terms. For Heidegger, death is ontological analysis. It belongs to Dasein's very structure of care, shaping how we live as beings thrown into the world. Death is not an external event, but an almost inescapable possibility. Death is not an event. Death is somewhere standing, and there we have to reach and die. But death is ontological. We make meaning of our death. Everyday life usually feels from this truth, hiding death under generalization, like everyone dies. So by highlighting these points, Heidegger reveals death as central to understanding existence itself. Far from being merely the end of life, death gives individuality and depth to human life. How we relate to it, whether by fleeing or by facing it, determines whether we live inauthentically, absorbed in the day, or authentically as being who owns up to their mortality. So, so that's how today we understood about Heidegger's way of understanding death. It's very unique, right? Sometimes we think that we also become part of Dasman or they, which he calls Gerede, Heidegger. We God has God has given us so much possibilities, or we are thrown into this world with a lot of possibilities. We don't make use of that possibility. We don't take actions. We don't take these proper decisions, and we become part of Dasman. We get entangled into this entertainment of the world, and we make our life hell. So through this, so in this class, we learned that we should live our life authentically. Thank you. Thank you for patiently listening to me.